Hello everyone! Today I want to show you how I deflask the seedlings I just recently purchased from Ecuador, Europe. I've already started with 3 of the flasks, so we have the Paphiopedilum sukhakulii here, the Cattleya violacea and the Cattleya or Laelia purpurata carnea. And the last one here is the Cattleya gaskelliana, and I just want to quickly show you how I approach this, because you have to be a little careful when handling these flasks because the roots are really stuck in the agar, and sometimes you might actually hurt the plants if you rush it a little. Anyway, so I just open it and you can see the plants are in this gelatinous matter. This is nutrient agar, and this is used to keep the plants alive because orchid seeds do not come with an endosperm, so they do not have their own nutrients to grow in like other plants. Like, for example, if we think of flour, this is made of the endosperm of wheat, or if we eat beans or corn, all the nutrients we get are actually the ones that the plant packed in there for its plant embryo. And orchids don't do that, because of course not. They have to be a little extra. What they do is they rely on mycorrhizal fungi, since it's kind of difficult to co-culture them. Also, sometimes certain orchid species are very dependent on a very specific symbiotic fungus. It's just easier to grow them on agar, which is a synthetic medium that just contains everything the plants need to grow and prosper. And as you can see, it's a little solid. And I just like to loosen it up a little by squeezing the flask that they are, like this plastic cup that they come in. And then it's going to be a little difficult to show, I think. I just grab them at the bottom of, where kind of the roots come out, and just pull them out one by one. And here it's really important that I don't mix up the plants, because this is kind of how you get wrong IDs later if you mislabel them now. Because now I feel like these seedlings, look, we have kind of 3 Cattleya types and 1 Paphiopedilum, and they all kind of look the same. So yeah, it's a bit difficult. Okay, so now we've taken them out of the agar, and then what I like to do is just quickly rinse them off before I pot them into media. Okay, now that they've been rinsed off a little, you can start to inspect the plants. So as you can see, they all have different sizes already, and some have really nice roots and others not so much. In my experience, some of these seedlings can be very hit and miss, and also don't really expect all of the 4 to make it. So this one, for example, I feel like this might be a goner very soon unless it really starts producing roots. But then even this big one, which has a really nice root there, or 2 really nice roots, has one that's also kind of gone. And for sure what I have to do is kind of clean up the roots here, but I feel like these all look so much better than the sukhakulii. Like, the flask was really, really contaminated, and so you can see these roots are kind of all rotting away. That's a little sad. But yeah, let's see. There you can see there are still some root hairs on this one. So I hope that they can really move on. And I think in my haul I mentioned that I'm a bit nervous about the fragrance of the contaminated media. The sukhakulii, they smell literally like a barn full of horses. So it's this very, I don't know what exactly it is, but it has this very, very distinct just horse scent. So that's very weird. I'm not really a big fan of horses. They're big and scary, so alarm. So I hope the roots of this one are going to make it. I'll just switch to a different camera angle now and give you kind of my rationale behind the media I choose and so on. I already have another video where I unflasked some orchids, which is linked up there. I definitely encourage you to check that one out as well. And I also have an update of these seedlings already. It's also linked up here, 6 months after the deflasking for these other seedlings. So it's a Tulumnia hybrid and Cattleya luteola. And then for these ones, I'm thinking to include an update video already at the end of this video. Yeah, let's see how long the update is going to be. I don't know yet, but probably at least 3 months. Hey everyone, switch the camera around. And as I said, I want to just give you a quick run through my media choices. As always, I rely on sphagnum moss and bark as my main media. The sphagnum moss is really important because these seedlings are still so small. They haven't developed any organs yet that would help them save energy, water, and so on. So to really provide them with the additional hydration they need, I like to use sphagnum moss. And I also like to use this really fine bark that I get also from Ecuagenera. Both of these media actually are from Ecuagenera Europe, or Orchideen. That's what they used to be called. So I'm a big fan of this kind of finer grade bark. This is their #1 grade premium bark. And I mainly use this as a top layer to kind of keep the sphagnum moss moist and prevents excess algae from growing. Then I'm recycling these pots. I really like these kind of deeper pots because then I can just have like a layer of media here and keep a lot of humidity in the air on top. So this is going to help me keep the plants happier. I still think that the majority of them is going to fail and they're going to die, but that's to be expected. As you can see, I have some other shapes here as well. I have to see how much space I have. Maybe I have to kind of rearrange the nursery for the orchid babies a little, like my seedling area. I think some of the larger plants might be able to move to a different spot right now. But yeah, with that kind of out of the way, I just want to start with these seedlings and maybe just cut off all the parts that I feel like are not going to make it anyways. So for example, here these leaves, I'm just going to try to peel them off because any material that can rot will rot. These dead leaves are just the perfect seeding ground for fungi, especially that like to prey on dead plant material. So this is now the Cattleya gaskelliana. This is how it looks like when it's like the flowers. And this was a pretty clean and non-contaminated flask, but still you can see this root has been bent. It's kind of smooshed and brown up here. It's also kind of dead there. However, there is, I don't know if you can see this, there is already a new root coming. So I'm not worried about this plant too much, and I'll just cut off these and then we'll see what this plant is gonna do. So this is kind of seedling #1, and then seedling #2 looks much better. We have a really nice big root and I could just pull off some dead material there. And I think also this root is probably going to go, this one here on the side, at least partially. And I think I'll just leave the rest on. There is a little bit of a sheath or something, but that's gonna go. There is also a root coming up there. So that's really nice, and I'll hope it's gonna help the plant survive. I'm just going to run through these seedlings now one by one, just cut off whatever needs to go, and then I'll be right back. These purpuratas actually look really good. So this is definitely my favorite flask so far. Yeah, this one just has a little bit of a broken root, but this might actually heal over, so let's see. Sometimes they kind of bounce back, but these purpuratas really don't need a lot of work and they're already pretty big. But the sukhakulii, this one there is kind of a new root coming, but these here on the bottom, oof, 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 oof. I'm just trying to pinch them off and leave anything that I think is alive. It's really sad. What I find a bit odd about the sukhakulii is that on the pictures of the adult plants, what I've seen is more of a mottled leaf, but these ones are just unicolored. Let's see if they're going to maybe turn mottled once they have more structures on them. I don't know. And now for the potting, so I'll just put like a thin layer of sphagnum moss here and keep it very fluffy. I'll just start with the sukhakulii and I'll just place them on here. So they have, they're just sitting there and they have some space to expand still, but I just also don't have a lot of space to accommodate big plants right now, or big pots even. Pop them in here, you probably couldn't see a thing, and then I'll just put some bark on top. There you go. Pot number 1 done. And of course, as I said, everything has to be labeled. So next, I think I want to use a slightly bigger pot for the purpuratas, just because these roots are already extensive, to be honest. So I'll just have them in this little square pot. This is actually the first square pot I'm using for orchids, so there you go. Oh, and if I say purpurata, obviously I mean Cattleya / Laelia purpurata right now. It's the only relevant purpurata in my life. And I'll just kind of, I don't know if you can really see this, I'll just place them here and have the roots just sit on top of the media for now. And then, you know, as they grow, they'll find their way further down. And also I'm not worried about having them intermingle for now, just because I'm pretty sure that not all of them are going to make it. So, because in my experience, sometimes seedlings just grow really well and sometimes they just suddenly wither off. So I'll just have them together for now, and then we'll see who wants to live and who feels like maybe another plane of existence suits them better. So again, label. I guess it would be nice of me to label it Cattleya purpurata, but I'm not gonna lie, I just call it Laelia. So this is gonna take a few years until I see the blooms. Now imagine, turns out that they're actually not what I think they are. Ooh. Oof. So another square pot, but this one is a little smaller. This is now for the violaceas. So in my haul video that already went up, I've been warned actually by Michael McCarthy that the Cattleya violacea is apparently a very, very slow grower when they're small, yet they need a lot of hydration. Maybe I'll just give them a little additional layer of sphagnum moss on top of their roots, just to keep them a little more hydrated. But other than that, I'll just keep an eye on them and make sure I don't see any signs of bird dehydration. And if that's the case, I'll just spray them with a little more water. So you're gonna have your tea. Do you know what I mean? If you're thirsty, just have some tea. And then last but not least, the gaskelliana. This is actually a species that I've been kind of semi-called out for not having. This one and the Lidemanniana, I think, are kind of the two like big unifoliate Cattleyas that are not in my collection yet. So now at least I have a gaskelliana tipo. Still looking for the Lidemanniana. I really like it. Just kind of the striation on the lip is very attractive for sure. I've seen ceruleas, I've seen rubras actually in for sale in Europe, but I just never, I don't know, I just never made the purchase. I don't know why. If you have like a Lidemanniana, maybe you can tell me why you have it and why you like it, because right now I just don't have the space. And when it comes to striation, I have quite a few, not quite a few, I have some maximas. Those kind of have this little bit of striation on their lips, so this is kind of filling the striated niche for me right now. And I don't know, the Lidemannianas just don't really speak to me as much, even though I feel like these kind of floofy Cattleyas all do have a very demanding presence. Like if you see images from them, it's really difficult not to look. And I remember just seeing this huge maxima at Curlin Orchidean, and I was just so impressed. It's like this huge specimen plant, and I'm like insane. And they had two of those, and then also a huge triony. So I'm like, they just demand respect in a way, right? So these big plants. So let's see, maybe in a few years I'm gonna have a really nice Ludemaniana as well. But right now, I don't know. It's just not something I kind of gravitate towards. So there you go, and these are the little bebés. They're freshly deflasked and nicely potted up now. I hope they're gonna do well. If not, I'm for sure gonna sue them. I'm going to give you an update on these plants for sure, and in real life this is gonna take a few months, but through the magic of editing, you're just gonna see it already right now.
Several months later.
There you go. It's been 3 months since these seedlings have been deflasked. Life is tough and then you die. Maybe ask that poor little Cattleya violacea here that just felt too sorry for itself and then got mummified. I think the same is going to happen to one of the gaskelliana. As you can see, it's lots of brown leaves, not so great, but there are 3 that are doing pretty well. I think they've been pretty stagnant, right? It's been winter in the northern hemisphere, and also, you know, you have to get adjusted to your new environment. So stasis is actually a good thing, because stasis means no decline. Same here for the purpuratas, I would say. Purpurata, Laelia purpurata carnea. You can see there are some new roots coming. Some leaves are drying off, but you know, that's just the circle of life. And I'm pretty happy actually with the Paphiopedilum. You can see I've been keeping them rather humid. There is a certain amount of algae growth, but honestly, like the Paphiopedilum sukhakulii, shiny leaves, it's doing really well. So there you go. All 4 of these seedlings are sticking around. So there you go. This is the update. I think we're doing pretty well here. So far, only 1 casualty and, well, maybe another on its way, but not gonna complain. That's just what happens. And, ooh, is that a box there? Well, not today's subject. Stay tuned. And the sphagnum moss is really important because